Good morning, Step Kids. Welcome to the Stepdad Soundcheck. I'm Dan. With me, as always, my best friend and co-host Mark. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm dandy this fine early morning.
Before we get started, please remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about, or what albums you want to hear us cover, what bands you want to hear us talk about. Today, Mark and I are going to be discussing a long overdue topic. It's nothing new to the internet. This topic is all over the place right now, but we are finally going to address AI music. This is really focused for the most part on the evolution of AI in music and kind of where we are with it today and where we see it going in the future. So yeah, Mark, anything you want to, I guess, say before we get started, or you want to get
Yeah,
started?
thanks to our new subscribers this week, we gained a couple more. How many subscribers are we at now, bud?
We're at 57. We're officially over
57.
50 subscribers now. So
All right.
thank you to so much to the first 50. Cannot thank you guys enough. This has been a lot of fun. This finally gives really both of us, I feel like, a good outlet to have these discussions.
And
Yeah.
for all of you that have subscribed, Daniel and I are personally going to tell Santa Claus that you should be on the nice list this year. And for all of you that have not subscribed, we are letting Santa know. We're going to let him know. And you're going on the naughty list, damn it.
Mark, how long has it been since you played golf?
2 weeks.
It's been a long time for me. My golf clubs are unfortunately in the pawn shop. So if you can subscribe to the video, that'll help me get my clubs out of the pawn shop. Help us, please. Anyway, well,
Something else I
yeah, go
wanted to touch
ahead.
base on. We talked in depth on our last episode about the Fender thing, and I just kind of wanted to see what updates you have. I've been seeing a lot of videos on TikTok and Instagram and that kind of stuff of people sanding off their Fender logos, taping
Mm,
over their Fender logos,
mm,
selling their guitars, all that kind of stuff.
mm.
And I even mentioned that, but if I got to thinking about it, I'm pretty heavily invested into Fender. I've got Fender amp, I've got a Fender Mustang.
You are damn near top to bottom Fender in your household. Do you even still have your Jackson anymore?
I don't. I've got my Charvel, but I sold that Jackson
Brother,
7-string a long time
you've
ago.
got your Charvel, that's under their umbrella. You've got your GNL, that's under their umbrella. You got your Squire, that's under their umbrella. You got your Mustang. You are through and through. You got a goddamn Fender amp back there.
I'm a secret boomer.
Like you are top to bottom Fender in your household. And you haven't been that way your whole life. I remember when you had an Ibanez, you had a Jackson here recently. And
Well, and I was watching a video just before we started recording about this new Fender CEO, and he comes from Ralph
that actually.
Lauren,
Yep.
Louis Vuitton. Like,
Yep.
I see what's going on now, and they're building a lifestyle
Yeah.
brand rather than a brand for the musician.
I feel like Gibson kind of made a similar mistake. I can't remember who their current CEO is now, but their previous CEO, just within the last decade. Do you remember? I can't think of his name. Forgive me. I'll find it. I'll post it. But I remember what company he came from, and it was Levi's.
Yeah,
Like, what is going on at these large, iconic guitar brand facilities? What are you like? Why are you losing your leadership? Number one. Number two, why are you hiring clothing experts? Why are you hiring clothing brand CEOs to stand behind the legacy your companies have built? I don't get that.
doesn't make
And I
sense.
feel like those guys are playing an entirely different game with a company that a lot of us hold near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah, I agree. Well, cool. I just wanted to touch base on that. It's
Yeah,
just
I
been
forgot about
all over my
that.
feed.
Well, to go ahead
Any
and dive
other?
into the AI talk, I mean, the cat is out of the bag. There is no putting it back in. There's no stopping it. It's here, and it's just going to continue to get more and more sophisticated. And the more sophisticated it gets, the harder it's going to be for any of us, presently or in the future, to tell the difference. Mark, why did you want to talk about AI today? Talk to me.
Well, I think in the very beginning, I was highly opposed to AI. We've got two data centers being built here in Cedar Rapids. It's doing a lot of negative things to the community. It's going to not really create a lot of jobs. It's going to spike our electrical prices. It's going to use large amounts of our fresh water, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And, that's just a drop in the bucket compared to all the AI data centers that are being built all over the United States and the world for that matter. That's just a drop in the bucket. I was really opposed to it because I am a musician. I like writing original music. And, when you take the art or the artist out of the art and you let AI start creating that, I had a really big problem with that. Then you sent me a song of one of your old bands from when you were in Birmingham. Somebody had taken one of those songs and AI'd it, and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I was like, we should do that with some of our old music just to see, you know. And you were like, well, go for it, buddy. So I downloaded Suno and I started farting around with it. And at first I wasn't very good at it. And once I started really learning the algorithm and learning that what you put in really decides what you get out, it's really interesting. And it gave me a whole kind of new lease on life about AI. Now, I'm still not really a supporter of it, but I think if it's used properly as a tool rather than just how you write your music, I think it can be a very powerful tool to help get you through a rut. For example, Daniel and I have a Dropbox and voice memos full of a catalog of just old dead riffs, old dead song ideas. And when I started putting those things in and reimagining that, it was a world of difference. So I kind of started looking at it like a digital producer. We don't have the luxury of being able to sit down with a producer in a studio and take these riffs and these ideas that we have and have somebody with a lot more knowledge than us help us arrange that, like a lot of artists do. That's a very expensive endeavor. We were very fortunate and are very fortunate to have a friend named Cody, great at recording, great at producing, but it became difficult to just pass those ideas back and forth and really get what we were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
What I got most out of my experience with jacking around with AI was, Daniel and I have played in instrumental bands for 20 years, plus 20 years. And we always wanted a vocalist. We never could find a vocalist that clicked with us. And so I started writing lyrics to all of our old songs and inputting those lyrics into the AI system and letting it create a singer for me. And it's really figured out the styles that I like, especially based on the inputs that I'm giving it. And it has cranked out some bangers, but more than anything, it's really kind of been therapy for me. I've been able to get song ideas lyrically out that I've had for decades that I can't sing that way. I used to be able to sing pretty well, but I can't sing that kind of way. So it really gave me an outlet to hear what our instrumental music actually would have sounded like, modernized with vocals, and given some of the new techniques and those kind of things. And it just puts it all together for you, wraps it up in a nice little package. It's about 50% accurate. Sometimes I've had to go through iteration after iteration with the song to get it where you want it. But I'm going to tell you, it's a powerful tool, and every week there's an update. And I'm sure there are other programs out there that are better than Suno, but I've learned it pretty well, and I've had a lot of fun with it. Daniel, I'm sure you're sick and tired of me sending you songs at this point. When I first started, it was like every hour I was like, you got to listen to this. You got to listen to this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was exhausting, but I have taken our old music from Out of Body. Most of that has been put through AI at this point. I have not published it. Same thing so I basically have a updated, modernized Out of Body album, updated, modernized The Exhale album, which was our second band.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started taking old ideas that I've had that never went into any of those bands. I've started writing an album that I've titled Verasion, which is a grape growing term for when the grapes start to ripen. It's kind of about growing up, and all the songs are about winemaking and grape growing, but they're all metaphor for things that are going on in my life. It has been an awesome experience. I listen to my AI music more than other music right now. I mean, if I'm in the car, I put on one of my album playlists and just listen to that. It's because it's mine, kind of,
Yep.
and I see a lot of people saying it's not original, you're stealing, and plagiarism. I disagree. I'm putting in all the input. We're writing the riffs. I'm uploading those riffs. I'm writing the music. I'm giving it the prompts. It's just putting the pieces of the puzzle together for me. But it's a slippery slope, man, and it's addicting. And then at some point, you kind of start getting burnt out on it. So I don't know. I don't know what the future is going to hold for us, but I think there is a good future in using it as a tool. I think there's a negative future in people just flooding the market with AI music. And I think it's up to our streaming services and all that kind of stuff to protect us, the consumer, from that. I think if you're uploading any music that has any AI relation to it in any way, form, or fashion, I think it should be in your notes in there. The AI is basically a writer in there, you know. I think it has to have a writing credit, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Also, I don't know from a negative standpoint, I don't know how much Suno owns my music now, our music.
Well, I was actually going to address some of that because I did look up and give their terms and conditions a good read. So I have some information to share with you there. It's not terribly concerning.
Was there any
Um,
human centipede type stuff in there? The old human centipede.
I'll tape it to your ass. Oh man, that was good. So I wanted to address a couple things out of what you said there. I feel like you're saying it's therapeutic because it's been a challenge for you to find the motivation to not only create some new music, but to find some new people to create some new music with in your area. And it's been a huge restriction for you to really not have an interface, have a computer, have a lot of the modern recording practice technology available to you at home. That's been a huge restriction for you also. So when you say it's therapeutic for you, I feel like what you're saying is, I don't have the knowledge or physical equipment to record and fully develop my ideas that I've had for so long. And I've now been able to find a way to at least get a glimpse of where these ideas could have gone.
I think that's 50% of it. The other
Okay.
50% of it is writing lyrics. So I don't
Sure.
know if you
Sure.
remember
Yeah.
in the early days, whenever you were driving me in your old beat up Chevy Cavalier to go
Yeah.
play acoustic sets at what was the name of that Cajun bar and restaurant next to the Plex, the gym?
Next to the Plex, the Gator something.
Gators? Gators?
Gator, not Gator Joe's, but I don't know, the fucking the Zydeco Gator shop. I can't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Um, Noble Savage,
Zydeco
places like
Gator
that.
shop.
But I don't know if you remember, I always had a notebook. I was always writing lyrics. I was always coming up with something. I've always had a
Yeah.
talent for writing lyrics. But having gone through this move to Iowa, my very soon after that divorce, and then trying to find my place here, it's been a really good opportunity for me to write that stuff. And I wasn't doing it because I don't really enjoy playing acoustic guitar anymore. I don't really, it's just not my thing anymore. And I
Yeah.
don't really sing and play guitar anymore, but I wanted a reason to write lyrics. And this gave me a good opportunity to do that and remember how, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but how, I mean, I'm actually talented at writing lyrics, just not good at singing.
All that makes a lot of sense, and it's funny when we were in our early days of creating music and in a band and writing songs collaboratively with our fellow bandmates. Man, back then we were just so anxious and we were so ambitious and we wanted to do it. And I remember so many nights I'd be laying in bed, there'd be a riff circling in my head, and I couldn't sleep until I got up, played it out, took some notes on it. I didn't have any kind of way to really record it back then, but at least kind of took some notes and remembered how I want to approach that the next day. I had to get it out of my system before I could even sleep. Like those days escape us. Those moments of inspiration no longer hit me like they used to. I'm
Yeah.
sure you're probably somewhat of the same way. To circle this back around to AI, I don't think it's a substitution for, well, I need some new ideas and I want to write some music. This for you and me, I haven't thrown in a lot of songs into AI like you have. I'm really glad that you did because you took the time to, fiddle around with Suno and to say, hey, I would like this idea to go this way. Please more of this, less of that, a little bit more of the original material. You spent the time to really craft Suno to spit out something that's closer to what you would have wanted those songs to sound like. And you probably got a lot that you weren't even expecting. Man, to also touch base on this, a lot of the songs that you sent me, I loved. There's some songs that I still think about. Just I'm driving around, walking around, doing yard work. There's a lot of moments in a lot of those songs I still think about. So, what role do I think streaming services need to play in all this? I believe streaming services need to do a little bit more than just say, hey, this is AI, watch out, this is AI. I think streaming services need to have their own separate platforms for AI music. It does not need to be on the same streaming platforms as human created music. Furthermore, any profits generated from AI music, I feel should be fed back into some sort of national federal fund for musicians to help them earn a living.
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of wishful thinking, and maybe it teeters on the idea of socialism a tad, but I know that advertisers and big tech, I know that they are looking at AI music as money grabbing opportunity number uno. They can't wait to find new ways to make money off of this. And I would hope and wish that we kind of give some of that effort and attention back to real musicians.
Well, and you made a point about a separate platform for the AI music. But here's the thing, Daniel, is I crafted every song that we made or that I made on AI using our music to where if we ever wanted to go and record that ourselves, nothing's out of our scope of ability on guitar.
Yeah, yeah.
So here's the thing, we could take that AI, go into a studio, completely record it almost like it was, and then release it as our own. And nobody ever has to know there's AI. Now, it's out there in the world now. We are telling you because I'm a very open and honest person about this, but it's definitely something I thought about. And that's why I go back to AI as becoming the producer. I think the first person that's going to be out of a job is a producer.
Before I address that, you also mentioned, you enjoy listening to your AI music more than you do a lot of, whether it be your own music that you've recorded yourself or just other music other humans have created. You enjoy listening to that AI music than you do a lot of other music these days. I feel like that's an important distinction. I feel like the reason you're loving listening to your AI music is because it does come from you. It is the lyrics you created. It is the riffs and the phrasing that you wanted to hear turn into a full song. And again, you've not had the technological opportunities, you've not had the knowledge to see this through the traditional way. I feel like that's where a lot of your enjoyment in coming. I feel like that's where a lot of your enjoyment in listening to your AI music is coming from. You would have otherwise not had the opportunity to hear these songs in that in
Oh,
in this way.
no,
Yeah.
not really.
No, and I also wonder. I'm not going to say any names, but I do wonder how many of today's major artists and today's major bands in particular, not necessarily pop artists and whatever else, but how many of today's bands and songwriters in the rock and metal world are using AI behind the scenes to help develop new ideas, and how far they're willing to take those and separate them from Suno or Udio or any of the other AI platforms. I wonder. I got a few suspicions, but I do wonder. Yeah.
Well, I told you, and I will name one name, and I'm not saying that they do this because I don't really give a shit. And it's a band that you and I both love. But when American Motorsports came out, the first comment I made was like, "This is so good that there has to be some AI involved in this." I mean, it's so perfect. Like, and
Although a bold claim, I know where you're coming from. Although a
yeah.
bold claim.
Now, I don't think if there was, I don't think it was in any malicious way or anything like that. I think Johnny Frank is a phenomenal songwriter, regardless. He's kind of like
Absolutely.
Misha.
Yeah.
He's got a library, I'm sure, terabytes and terabytes and terabytes deep of stuff. But I also think that he would say, "Let me see what this," you know?
I mean, and look, this is a point I wanted to make kind of early up top, but this is a good time to talk about it. I think a lot of people misunderstand kind of where AI is going to take us over the next foreseeable future. Before we die, AI is not going to dominate human created music. The top 10% of human creators that have the information and the knowledge to use AI will dominate the bottom 90.
Yeah,
AI
that's a
by
good point.
itself will not do this for a very long time. I say a very long time. Who knows? It could be 10 years from now, but
And
yeah,
try to keep
yeah.
them powerful and putting out radio friendly bangers. Because I will tell you, everything you put out on AI, if you go through enough iterations of it and edits and all that kind of stuff, they're pretty much all bangers, man. And you put out a stinker, you delete it and you re-put in the information, you give it a couple different prompts and see what comes out next. Your likeliness of getting complete and full album that is banger after banger after banger after banger, all radio ready, all fantastic, is really, really high, really good. So I think the people that are already kind of dominating that space are going to be the ones that are going to try to stay relevant the most.
There's a lot of us that want to say, well, I stand against AI. And, the incredible drummer online,
The one
uh,
that has the
El-
Suno shirt,
yeah, yeah,
he's so good. Stealing
yeah, stealing until
until,
no one's original. Yeah.
yep,
The pronunciation of his name is so wild to me. I'll have to think of it right now, but El Siberio something. I can't remember.
he's
Either way.
guaranteed. If you are watching this, you have seen this guy pop up on some social media
Yes.
platform. The dude's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Great shirt. So to touch base on who owns the music that goes to Suno, like I said, I did look into the terms and conditions of Suno, and of course, there's separate rules for free users versus paid users. So to quickly go through that, who owns the music for free users? Suno retains ownership of generated output for free users. You only receive permission for non-commercial use. An important nuance there, if you upload original lyrics or audio as a free user, you still retain the rights to your original material. But the AI generated output may not be copyrightable under the US law, let alone international. Internationally, things are much more gray. So as a pro or premier user under Suno, you do get commercial rights. If you create songs while actively subscribed to Pro or Premiere, Suno assigns you those rights to those generated outputs. You can commercially release and monetize them, which I want to talk about in a moment. And, even if you cancel the subscription, as long as your membership was active when that output was generated, you still have it. It's still yours.
Yep.
So that's Spotify releases, that's YouTube monetized YouTube videos, that's licensing music, that's distribution via TuneCore, DistroKid. As a pro and premier, you still have ownership of the original and of the AI output material. So the part that a lot of musicians miss is if you upload your own music, you still retain the rights to your original uploaded material. However, Suno can process it inside their system. They've got it. So if they want to let somebody else have fun with it, ain't shit you can say about it. AI generated extensions or remixes get even more legally complicated. Remix permissions can be shared in ownership situations. And that's not terribly outside of the norm these days anyway. Think about any sort of viral sound that people use on
Yeah.
TikTok or Instagram these days. That's who knows. For example, here's a great example. I've used in our Reese Maslin Bill Murray video. No, it wasn't Bill Murray video, but it was about Bill Murray. I used some song that is being thrown around all around TikTok. It is a religious song, and it's
hmm Because when Reese came
I
back to the band,
yes, yeah, Reed
yeah,
came back to the band, and yeah, anyway, point being, I don't know who that was, but that sound gets shared around like crazy because everybody loves that sound. And, ultimately that brings some attention to the original artist or the original source, wherever it came from. But that stuff is rampant these days. So,
oh
not
yeah, it's like
totally.
everyone loves a Jet 2 holiday, all that
Yes,
kind of shit.
yeah, yeah. In other kind of recent news about AI, this is a little alarming, but Spotify and Universal Music Group have announced a licensing agreement that allows fans to create AI covers and remixes of songs from participating artists and songwriters. So this feature on Spotify is going to be made available to premium users. It is going to be an add-on feature, a paid add-on feature. So there's going to be money generated through this, and it's going to open up additional revenue streams for songwriters and artists. So thing one, that's already happening without their permission. I'm actually looking forward to speaking about some of the really great AI remixes and genre swaps that I love. Universal Music Group is trying to find a way to capitalize on this. More and more of it's going to happen. More and more of that from every major label is going to pop up over time. And I think much like in the, world of streaming services, once upon a time we all just had cable TV and that was good enough for us. Now we've got 18 different streaming services, free and paid and commercials and no commercials. This is going to happen with music. Every music label is going to have their own sort of streaming service. They're going to have their AI versions of it. There's going to be paid versions. There's going to be free versions. It's going to get messy.
Well, and here's the thing is, all these companies are nickel and diming us and getting rich. The consumer is spending more and more money. I mean, you can spend just as much as when you had cable on individual streaming services if you want to. But
Oh, yeah.
then you look at other things like when an artist streams, you're getting paid a fraction of a cent per play. So, like, really, how much money is going to be available to the artist regardless?
Yeah.
And I know,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
like Jay-Z tried to start a streaming service that was going to pay the artist more, and that failed. And there's been all kinds of attempts to try to get the artist paid more. But at the end of the day, it's another streaming service. And would I subscribe to a streaming service that guaranteed to pay the artist more if I had to pay, like, I pay what, $10 a month for Apple Music right now? If I could pay $20 a month and I knew the artist was going to get paid, a decent livable wage for each stream that they get, then great.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think, like when somebody makes a movie and sells it to Netflix, they sell it to them for an amount. What if the artist were selling, what if Bill Murray sold Apple Music, his catalog, for this amount of money and it was only exclusively streamed on Apple Music? Then you had a reason to have Apple Music. Bill Murray, as an entity, gets paid an amount for each album, and that's your income. Anything made beyond that, Apple gets that. Sure, whatever. I don't know if that's the solution, but if you want to be a musician and just make music and have it on streaming services and not be out there touring, I got news for you, brother. Unless you're doing content on YouTube and TikTok and everything else to accommodate that, like Jared Dines, for example, he's made a whole empire out of just YouTube. You can do it, but I think you're going to have to work way harder. Although touring is really hard fucking work too.
Yeah, and to quickly talk about a recent interview that Misha did with Nick Nocturnal that's gone all over the place in our algorithms. Misha reminds everybody that, hey, and he did this with Rick Beato years ago. Like, periphery is one thing. Periphery, if that's all Misha and Periphery did, it's not really going to make a lot of money. Periphery is the nucleus that allows all the other products and services that he offers and that Periphery offers and GGD offers and Horizon Devices offers. Periphery is just the nucleus that allows all those other companies to do really well. And, I think that's one big reason you and I never really, at least myself, I'll speak for myself on this. I've never really been married to the idea of, well, my music can be my career and that's what I want to do with my life. There's no way that you will make a livable wage, especially these days, with just music. You won't.
Yep.
You have to have other revenue streams. And I sincerely hope that artists find other creative ways to get their fans engaged with their music and their content. We briefly spoke about bands doing live performances. I don't know if you remember this, but I think it wasn't during COVID, but Avenged Sevenfold did a VR show. I can't remember if it was for Apple's VR headset or if it was Oculus's, but either way, they did a whole VR headset show. Not only just a live streamed performance, but if you got that specific VR set, you could tune in and actually be there with them and actually like hear really good sound. And like, that's really cool. T-Pain doing his On Top of the Covers, small exclusive venue, one-time performance, live stream opportunities. Like, these are the other sorts of ways that I feel like bands need to get fans engaged outside of going to a show, buying some merch. Because, yeah, if we really look at the kind of support that we show the music we love versus AI music that somebody in the world just randomly makes, what are we doing? Like, Mark, please name a band you love and name all the ways you've supported them.
Oh, well, let's just use Deftones. That's easy. Deftones, I've gone to easily 13 plus Deftones shows.
Okay.
I've bought Deftones merch over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Back when I was buying physical copies of albums, all the way up to Diamond Eyes, I own all those CDs. I own vinyl. I've bought Deftones beer before. It was terrible.
Didn't know they had beer. Yeah.
It's actually not bad. It's just not my style. but they've branched out and done a lot of other stuff. But yeah, I mean, other than that, like most of that's been a decade ago.
Are you subscribed to Deftones on YouTube? Are you liking their videos? Are you leaving
No,
comments on their videos?
no, if they're
So
even posting much.
in the last 10 years, you've shown Deftones just as much support as you would AI music.
Yep.
You've engaged with the Deftones just as much as you've engaged with AI generated music. And really, I'm not trying
Now,
to call
Bill
you.
Murray subscribed, comment, like, all that kind of stuff. Any podcast he's on, I
Sure,
watch,
sure.
that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. So there's a
Yeah.
difference, but I've also, maybe Deftones was a bad example because I've kind of fallen out of the Deftones over the years. But
But no, that's still a great point. I mean,
yeah,
once upon a time, you were showing all sorts of other monetary revenue streams
sure.
going to Deftones for various products. And, just like I mentioned recently with Carmen Yaka, I got that album and felt guilty. That album was so good. I was like, these guys just worked for God knows how long, put in God knows how much sort of blood, sweat, and tears into that album. And I just got to listen to it for free. I've
At
shown
least they all
no.
have good credit scores.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
There's got to be new ways that bands are offering fans ways to show support. I don't feel Patreon's one way, sure, but I don't know. We need
but
to get
back
more
in the day,
creative.
it used to be you could buy a ticket to a show and you could buy their newest album and buy a T-shirt at the show, and that's really all you needed to do to help support your favorite band. Now,
Yeah.
how much do we need to be nickeled and dimed? Anytime Bill Murray comes out with a new vinyl, I'm like, should I? Same with Intervals. Thrice, I
I
bought
mean,
that vinyl immediately because I was like, this is gonna be a vinyl that's gonna be on my rotation all the time, and it is because it's just an easy to sit down and listen to album. But like, how much do we gotta? I mean, we're all poor. Gas is 4 something a gallon, man.
look, one debate I hate to have with myself after I finally say, you know what, I'm going to so and so concert. I cannot wait to see so and so at this so and so venue, and I'm going to see them in concert finally. I hate to get there and have the debate with myself. Do I want to stand in that long line for merch? If I get to the front of that long line, do I want to pay $45 for a shirt? Do I want to pay 35 for a hat? Like, I want to show support to so and so band, but is it worth it? Like, I really hope we find some new ways for artists to generate income, and ultimately, I hope AI can play a part of that. I feel I feel that is the tax AI should have imposed on it.
Yeah,
To quickly circle back to this Spotify UMG licensing agreement for fan covers and remixes of songs, not a big surprise here, but a lot of the artists going to be involved with this. Your Taylor Swifts, your Billie Eilishes, your Drakes, your Sabrina Carpenters, your Kendrick Lamars. Post Malone in the pop rock. I found this kind of irritating, but in the pop rock category, you've got folks like Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, Coldplay, Olivia Rodrigo, Harry
no,
Styles,
no.
Chappelle Rowan. Yeah. Uh, in the iconic heritage acts, these are things like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and Bob Dylan and Elton John, Queen, U2, all under the Universal Music Group. Soon you'll be able to remix these and genre swap these songs and
Well, maybe
listen
we
to them
just genre swap
exclusively on a
Billie
paid
Eilish and
tier.
Justin Bieber and make it actually listenable. Yeah.
Well, look, that's happening, and I'm finally glad that we can talk about this. There is AI music that I love listening to, and it's not necessarily music you've created, and it's not necessarily songs that I've created from my past. But I have had a growing appreciation for genres that I have not traditionally listened to, and I unfortunately have not taken the time to look up any R&B funk original bands, but I'm happy to throw on some AI genre swapped or just R&B funk original AI songs from an artist called Nick Hustles, an AI artist called Nick Hustles. There are some simply wonderful, not overly comedic, but still lighthearted enough. They're old soul, old R&B, old funk. Man, just I love the Nick Hustles AI product that's out there. There's a guy on YouTube, I believe his name is Benny Blanco. I need to look it up and double check it, but he's done a lot of Sleep Token R&B genre swaps. Boy, you talk about some really great shit. I
Well,
mean,
that works.
It
It
does
works.
work because yeah,
It's a good platform.
yeah. I mean, anybody that listens to Sleep Token and has some familiarity with R&B from the '90s can absolutely tell that Vessel was really influenced by a lot of early R&B.
Sure.
And to hear I feel like it's kind of a seamless transition into a modernized AI remixed version of Sleep Token songs. Really cool. There was also, cannot remember the name of this channel, it's on YouTube, but there were a lot of yacht rock versions of
Hmm.
just all sorts of songs. And one in particular that I really loved was a yacht rock version of Creep. And that was really the first time when I heard a AI song, a genre swap AI song, when I was like, wow, okay, this is kind of picking up some steam here. AI is sounding questionably good. I didn't
Yeah.
realize it could be this expressive. I didn't realize the instruments could sound this good. I didn't realize that the singer would have a lot more dynamics than I was expecting. That was really the first time when I heard this AI creep genre swap. Man, I was like, okay, people are about to get carried away with this. And sure enough, in the following years, it did. And that was roughly 2023. And finally, one AI genre swap that I really love is Funkin' Park. Funkin'
Funkin'
Park is
Park.
great. Funkin' Park is terrific, man. Funkin' Park, I'd throw that on at the house just for something to listen to while I'm cleaning or gaming or working because it helps me remember why I loved those Linkin Park albums. Hybrid Theory is such a good album. Meteora is a fucking goat. Like I've heard those albums so many times throughout so many instances over my life, where hearing them again doesn't necessarily re-engage me with how good those songs were. But when I hear the genre swap and I hear a funk version, it makes me appreciate the lyrics again. It makes me appreciate those melodies again.
Yeah.
Um, and I would have loved for some pack of musicians plus a horn section to take the time, money, and effort to do that themselves. And I
Yeah.
would have loved to have gone to a show to watch that done live. But somebody just decided to use English vocabulary and spit it out in 10 seconds instead.
Yep.
So yeah. Anyway, that's all I got to say about some of the AI music that I do really love. And I've shown no support to these folks outside of watching their videos, liking the videos. And really I don't want any sort of revenue streams. I don't feel these folks should be eligible for any sort of revenue streams. Any sort. You're taking other people's material, you're using AI to convert these into new products. I don't feel you should be eligible for any monetization when it's specifically not your original music.
Yeah, because it doesn't take long. I mean,
No.
Suno spits out a song in 10 minutes. I will say, like I tried to do like a cover of something and uploaded some music, or actually, no, just the lyrics. I wanted to do a metal version of Baby Shark. And just uploading those lyrics, it immediately flagged it as a copyright thing and would not allow me to use that.
That's so fun. Do you know the origin of Baby Shark?
I don't have any idea.
Dude, and this really does go back to what we were talking about just earlier. Dude, some guy recorded himself playing with his kids in a little kid pool. They were infants or something. And he just on the fly sang this song to his kids. He uploaded that video. Now, who the fuck is claiming copyright on Baby Shark lyrics when the original source of that was some guy that just sang this to his kids and uploaded that video online? Who
Yeah.
the fuck owns the copyright to a song that somebody sang to their kids in private and uploaded online? Like, this stuff is rampant already, and AI is really just going to further muddy the waters. That irritates me.
Yeah. I was a little frustrated because I was like, I want to hear a metal Baby Shark and I want to make it. So
I'm sure
I don't know. I
somebody's
might
made it.
try it again. Yeah. I might try like
I mean,
altering the lyrics a little bit. I don't know. Well, dude, and just to touch on artists getting paid and all that kind of stuff, ASCAP, BMI, we so our winery, the winery I work for, we host a lot of live music, especially in the summer. We have to pay ASCAP and BMI if anybody's coming in there and playing covers. And nobody wants to come in and listen to people play originals at a winery. They want to come in and listen to covers. So we pay a hefty
genre
amount to
swaps,
ASCAP.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. we pay a hefty amount to ASCAP and BMI every year, just to be able to be allowed. And if you are any type of venue that's allowing music to be played that is covers, there are basically secret shoppers or spies out there that will come by to your venue. If they catch you, they will hit you with a cease and desist letter. And then next thing you know, you're paying money to these companies. And
Incredible.
I mean, I understand it to an extent, but at the same time, like, come on, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, you mentioned data centers earlier. Definitely a hot topic all around the country, especially in, where I am. And I'm sure it's big where you are. Shit, I mean, my day job, I'm a recruiter, and I generally look for blue collar folks. And I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of blue collar folks, especially millwrights and guys that have years and years of experience in the manufacturing and industrial environments. There's a lot of these guys that are getting not long-term fruitful career opportunities with data centers, but short-term bursts of cash. Sort of like the oil industry, it's kind of hard for folks that have that experience to look at these short-term opportunities, that huge injection of cash, and say no to. So I mean that's
Yeah.
something I'm fighting against right now with data centers.
Well, dude, and
But
something I noticed. So we've
yeah, go
got a
ahead.
big one being built right now, and overnight, our population exploded here in Cedar Rapids with people from Texas,
Yeah,
Florida,
yeah,
and
yeah.
Georgia, all these laborers. And I started thinking about it. I was like, why am I seeing all these Texas, Florida, and Georgia plates? Okay, it's the data center. But then I started thinking about why from those areas, because they're non-union. Everywhere in the
Yeah,
Midwest, all of those workers are protected under a union.
yeah, yeah.
So they are exploiting non-union workers by doing this. And now all these unionized laborers here in the Midwest, and God bless them, I think they're getting left out of a lot of this work. Now, I don't know for sure that they're not being used at all because I can't tell locally what workers are being used. But the sheer amount of outside people from the South where there aren't unions is kind of appalling. So yeah,
And
it's
it's always
disturbing.
tough for me to have conversations about new career opportunities with folks that are under unions, because those union pensions are tough to turn around and walk away from.
Yeah.
A lot of the benefits they receive in most cases are paid for them. Like, I get it. But to wrap this back around to AI music, Rick Beata recently did a wonderful video on why data centers are going to essentially become the modern music production studio. If you've not seen this video, I highly encourage you to watch it. I'll quickly spoil it and summarize for you. But data centers, the primary reason that they're really being constructed is to give the internet the resources it needs to process everything that ChatGPT and all the other AI large language models are asking of all of us. So, without the internet, without computers connected to the internet, those are of no value. And the thing is you can today install a large language model on your computer disconnected from the internet and still, ask ChatGPT, hey, I've got this in my cabinets. What can I make for dinner tonight? Or, hey, can re-summarize this email I just received from my boss? Or, all the sort of common tasks that people use ChatGPT for, you can do this locally at home off the internet if you go to some of these websites where you can download a large language model, install it on your computer, and just use it locally. So
Yeah.
the
Well,
reason,
and
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I don't understand why instead of building these big giant data centers that employ hardly anybody, why doesn't the government or Google or these big companies like that, why don't they subsidize us and say, hey, if you will put in a server in your home, it's going to take up about the space of a closet, and we will pay you, I don't know, $500 a month. I'd do that shit in a heartbeat. I'd put that thing in my basement and let it hum and make heat and not think about it. I don't care.
Yeah, good point. And, I also want to remind everybody we are two bumbling idiots. We don't know all there is to know about AI and sort of opportunities that are available today or maybe here in the future. So, really, if we're off base with any of this, please leave a comment. Let us know. But to wrap this back around to music and recording studios of yesteryear, the one of the first digital audio workstations and audio interfaces came from Pro Tools, of course. So the Digi 001 was one of the first digital audio interfaces that worked with one of the first digital audio workstations. And I remember the 001 from the Shreve Audio days, the guitar store I used to work at, of course. Point being, when studios bought Pro Tools gear, all that Pro Tools gear, like industry leading stuff, costed $30,000. $30,000. Studios started charging an extra fee to have Pro Tools in their studio. $500 a day. You want to record in a studio with Pro Tools? That's an extra $500 a day. You want to go to a studio with a Pro Tools certified engineer? That'll be an extra $200 a day for that Pro Tools certified engineer. Where are those recording studios today? They've all closed down because people can do all this at home now. People can do all of this at home now, and you don't necessarily need a Pro Tools certified engineer. There have been so many technological advances for the modern recording at home musician to do this themselves. On top of that, YouTube is a wealth of knowledge. You can learn to do almost anything these days on YouTube. We do not need recording studios with $30,000 equipment anymore to pull off a great sounding recording. Sure, that stuff helps, but necessary? No, it's not necessary
No,
anymore. And, furthermore, now we've got, Suno spitting out music in 10 seconds. That sounds as if it were done in a $30,000 studio.
you know
So,
what's crazy is every time I make a song on Suno, I'll have my phone plugged in
mhm.
and I'm inputting all the information, and you can see your battery dropping, and you can
Yeah,
feel your phone getting hotter. And by the time, like when it starts processing and making that song, I mean, my phone gets hot, like
yeah.
hot. So imagine if it's doing that to your phone, what the push is on the rest of the data world.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
nuts.
So, that is a very interesting way to look at data centers these days. What's seen as really necessary right now for how the world currently works, man, we give it 10 to 20 years. A lot of those data centers could be abandoned, much like the recording studios of the 90s or blockbuster videos of the 90s. They may seem necessary right now, but they're not going to be real soon.
Well, in the future, it'll be all the pods that we live in, like the Matrix.
Yeah. My closing thoughts on all of this. I might have shared this with you before, but did you ever have a Game Genie as a kid?
I did not. I
You
never had
remember
a
them though,
game.
right?
Yeah, I never had a. Oh, Game Genie. Yes, where you put in the codes and. Oh
Sure.
yeah, dude. There were some games you couldn't beat without a Game Genie.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Battletoads. If you can beat Battletoads without a Game Genie, come on, bro.
What's all that power if it wasn't any fun? By the time you actually get all of the cheats, it does drain a lot of the fun out of it because a lot of the fun you're supposed to experience with a game is the overcoming the challenges and overcoming a lot of the hurdles and figuring out the mechanics of something and really mastering it. When you get a game genie involved, it takes all of that away. And what's all that power of a game genie mean if it wasn't any fun along the way? Some of my favorite memories of us in our musician days and our days of being in a band were the days in a practice room, working out section by section, working out riff by riff, getting the chills when we finally know that all of us just discovered what the song is about to be.
Yeah.
All of that gets taken away with AI music.
Well,
That's kind of
you remember one time when we were in the Exhale, we had a show coming up like in a week, and I called you and I said, "Man, we've only got like 6 songs that really think we need a seventh. I've got a riff idea. Why don't you come over?" You came over, and just on some teeny tiny little practice amps, we sat there and drank beer, and in probably 2 hours, cranked out a whole new song. Went to practice the next day, showed it to everybody, practiced it the entire week, performed it at that show at the end of the week.
yeah.
And if it wasn't for that collaboration, now, if we would have had AI back then, we could have done that a whole lot faster, but we would have not had that organic opportunity to write that song. And it's one of my
Yeah.
favorite songs to this day.
And we didn't sit down with those little crappy amps with the objective of, okay, well, it's time to figure out how we can make some money. We sat down with the objective of just creating some music that we wanted to perform live.
Yep.
It is being in a band. Money is not the goal. It is a byproduct. It is a symptom of something working well. That'll eventually come, but really, it's all about the journey. Memories of the process are where I have the most fond memories when it comes to being in a band.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I wanted to be a rock star. I didn't care about the fortune. I cared about people coming up to us after a show and saying that was amazing, or
yeah,
like, "Oh my God, you guys are my favorite local band," or what a cool idea or what a cool song. Back playing in Denton, playing at the Bearded Monk in an alleyway between a brewery and a bar.
Hmm.
And, the sound guy comes out and sets us up for free, doesn't charge us anything because he loves us. You got another guy that brings us lights. Nobody else got lights. We had lights because they were like, we have this idea for you. We want to make it look really good. And it's cool stuff like that. And it was just all the support from the locals and the groups like that because we were just doing something new and something that city hadn't heard before. So yeah, all the
Man,
collaboration.
I remember this was when, just a few years ago, you were living in Texas at the time. And I think I had already moved out to Graham, but you went to, I believe this is the story. You went to West Texas, you were at some random bar, and some guy says, "You're Mark from Out of Body." Do you remember that story? Can you tell? I'm telling it wrong. I know I am.
I can't remember exactly what that's been so long ago. God, it was somebody that we knew that had lived in Shreveport and was now out in Lubbock area. And God, who was that? It'll come to me at some point. I don't know, but yeah, that was wild.
My point in bringing that up is, um that was another really cool kind of side effect of us creating our own music and taking the time, money, effort to present these songs live regardless of how much money we made. um Hearing people's feedback about how our music impacted them, that was worth it. That was cool.
Well, you remember the first time we played Dallas at Division One, which no
Yeah,
longer exists. But when we went, we had a whole gang of people that followed us there to go
we
see
did.
our first
Yeah.
Dallas show. I mean, I don't know, probably what, 15, 20 people traveled with us.
Well, really good talk on AI. There's still a lot, I feel like we've kind of opened the floodgates to have more AI discussions on the podcast in the future now. We have been kind of saving up a lot of our thoughts and comments on AI, kind of specifically for this episode. And, I remember when we first got this podcast started, Mark, I told you, I said, "Hey, look, I'm about to use AI to, just whip up a logo for the podcast and some hey, I'm about to use AI to get these thumbnails started." And I told Mark back then, I said, "Hey, look, we're either going to stand against AI and not use this and get an artist involved in creating some of maybe our podcast logo, and maybe us take the time necessary to learn Photoshop and to make our own YouTube thumbnails, or we just use AI." And
Yeah.
we've kind of chosen to just go with AI, not to, I don't know any visual artists.
Well, you told me to make a thumbnail for our Christian metal episode, and I sat down and started farting around with it. And I was like, "Ain't nobody got time for this." And I was like, "AI, boom, done." And it's kind of funny. And I don't know, like I'm kind of glad that we did that because if you look at our Callous Cowboys Periphery episode, you look at most of our other thumbnails, like I and Daniel was really, really conflicted about that. I said, leave it in. Those are Easter eggs for our AI
um,
episode. So go back and look at those thumbnails. Like on the Periphery and Callous Cowboys one, doesn't even look like any.
no. And that really does kind of speak to, where a lot of us are conflicted with AI. Does ultimately, if we use AI to create art in any medium, who's going to know? Who's going to care? Who's going to just scroll past it? Like, it's got its time and place. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be a substitute for pushing any of ourselves to learn and grow and to develop new skills, whether it's getting better with guitar or learning Photoshop for the first time. We should still take the time to really put ourselves through that and to learn and to grow in that way. AI will get you by, um, but it's certainly no substitution for the journey along the way.
And I think more importantly, for us artists that are in a rut, I think it's really, really good for helping you get out of that rut. I
Yeah.
wouldn't lean on it as a crutch, but I'm going to tell you, I'm playing guitar more again because I'm kind of starting to get out of my rut and starting to kind of look at music in a different way. So I wouldn't poo poo on it for sure. I wanted to, but I really don't have
Yeah.
a good reason to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to having more conversations about AI music in the future. For all the step kids watching, thank you for sticking with us for a kind of a longer episode today. Um, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Specifically in the comments, especially if you made it this far into the video, let us know not really your thoughts on AI, but let us know the good you're getting out of AI. Let us know your fears of AI for the future. Um, and And yes, if there's something that we were totally off base with, or if you feel like we're totally in the wrong here, let us know, please.
Absolutely. Cool. As always, as we make musical recommendations or you're listening to music, make sure you're wearing a good set of headphones or earbuds. Enjoy that music.
Always
Don't just listen on your phone speaker. Ugh.
good sound. Always, always, always,
Yep.
always. So
Absolutely.
it's been a ton of fun. Mark, brother, much love.
Thank you guys.
Bye, guys.